Jess Thompson, the outgoing Executive Director at Oregon Walks. Thank you for joining us for another Walk the Talk, Talk the Walk conversation. A bit about Oregon Walks. Oregon Walks is a 30-plus-year-old nonprofit membership-based advocacy organization. We work to promote walking and create conditions that make walking safe, convenient, and attractive for every person in Oregon. We started Walk the Talk, Talk the Walks as a way to learn more about the ways in which communities most impacted by historic and current disinvestment and oppression experience walking and rolling in the right of way. Our goal is for Oregon Walks and all active transportation advocacy groups, policymakers, politicians, and organizers to do better. Oregon Walks is committed to continuing to deepening our equity learning and practice. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Today, we hear from Black community leaders in the greater Portland metro area about their experiences with walking in Portland and what Portland can do to provide safer spaces for walking and rolling. Thank you for joining us as we walk the talk and talk the walk.
Oh, well, thank you and welcome. Andrew Campbell will be co-facilitating with Jess. I'm a community member. We're going to begin with introductions. You can just introduce yourself and the organization if you're representing one.
I'm Sharetta Butcher. My day job, I work with North by Northeast Community Health Center as the community care director. And I am a community health worker, which I think is the hat I'm wearing on this for this event or this conversation. And I also work with an organization called Thrive, it's St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church, and they are interested in putting together an Affinity walk group. So we've been doing a lot of talk about that. So I would imagine that hat, I would wear that hat a little bit too.
Thank you for that. And next we'll go to Richard.
Well, my name is Richard Hunter. I've been retired from the Oregon Department of Transportation since 2015. Since then, I've got involved in so many community organizations volunteering, including the Jefferson High School Alumni Association. After December 31st, I'm cutting a whole lot of that out. And my concentration now is just basically with the AARP in 3 aspects. I'm an Oregon State volunteer with AARP. I'm also on the Oregon Legislative Advocacy Volunteer Group, and I'm part of the local Portland chapter. I think 5264 is about 162 African Americans and still growing. And so, if I'm wearing a hat as a community, but I'm full-fledged AARP. You know, that's my passion. That's going to be my life now.
Thank you for that, Richard. And next we'll go to Sam.
All right. Excuse me. My name is Sam Thompson. I am a restorative justice specialist for Portland Public Schools at Madison High School. Other work that I do is through my company, Next Level Enterprises. Partnered with Oregon Walks last year to put together the Next Level Health Walk. Community organizer, love to put things together for the community, specifically the Black community in Portland, Oregon. And so that is what I do, and I think that is kind of why I'm on part of this conversation today.
Thank you, everyone, for introducing and also for being here to just really share your input and give awareness to systems on really, how to make walking more accessible, but easier and safer for all of us. So the first question we will start with will be why is there a need for affinity spaces for walking in Portland?
I believe the importance of affinity groups when walking is an opportunity for fellowship as well as being healthy, getting some exercise. From last year, putting together the Next Level Health Walk last September, we've seen that it is a group of people, a population of people in Portland, Oregon, specifically the African American community, that need to practice healthier health practices. And something that we understand with walking is that it is something that a lot of people still can do. It is not as strenuous as a situation of trying to work out, running, jogging, all of these other things. But I believe the opportunity to walk and create spaces where you're walking with people that look like you, talk like you, and have opportunities to have those conversations while getting that healthy walk in is very, very important. I don't see a lot of space and a lot of different groups that are doing that, are being very specific in those, trying to address those needs and targeting specific groups. We do have the Aaron Bell walking group. I know that my mom and a couple of friends get out and walk, but I think that the more that we create spaces where we are feeling comfortable walking, getting used to getting that exercise and having a focus on our health is very, very important. And I think the more that we do that, targeted to specific groups, namely the African American population community in Portland, is a good thing.
I agree.
No.
I agree. That was some of the same thoughts I had, is like being able to walk in safety, walk in a sense unity with each other, because of our health issues. We're able to talk about it and encourage one another and support one another on it. So I think that's why it's important to have the affinity groups. Then the other side of that is I wanted to say around safety. I know there are groups that walk around the track because the track is a lot more public and is more safe than it is like walking in your neighborhood and seeing, or walking down Williams Avenue and then everyone's looking at you like something's wrong with you or something. So I feel like that it's important to have that unity and having a group of folks walking together for safety.
Well, I guess that comes down to me, I guess. I appreciate both what Sam and Sharetta has said. I'm thinking on two levels. I like the idea of affinity groups. It's sad that we have to have affinity groups because, you know, we need affinity spaces. But, you know, it's to go, I know it's tough in this pandemic, we can't do much of that. But the time is coming that we'll be back and we'll be able to really become active in affinity walking. But, you know, because of the way that gentrification has occurred, it has kind of forced the creation of affinity groups, especially since these last few months with the election and everything, and you had a lot of Antifa and other types of groups that have, and a lot of protests and things that have made a lot of people uncomfortable walking, period. So if you're going to go out, sometimes it's best to go out as a group with people that you feel safe with. And but what's important to me when I walk, I was born and raised here in Portland, Oregon, and especially in the inner Northeast. I've lived all over Portland, but in the inner Northeast area, I've lived here for most of the 67 years I've been born. And I find it very strange to walk down the same neighborhood that I've lived in all my life to find people that don't look like me, as far as, you know, my ethnicity and culture. But they do look at me strange, you know, like I'm the oddball. I'm like, what am I doing here? But I take a different stance on that because I said, you know, I was here way before you came along. I decided to stop and engage myself with a couple of people and decide to educate them about this community. And I said, well, that used to be that. I used to live here. We used to own this house, blah, 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 you know, and this and that and that and this. And they said, oh, we didn't know that. I said, yeah, no, I'm not the stranger here. But I can't get high. I don't know if I can trust certain people. I don't know who you are. And that makes it uncomfortable to have affinity spaces. People need to be educated, and people need to sit down and have community. There need to be some community dialogue about affinity spaces. And but until we come to grips and have more dialogue like that with everybody, we have to go with our affinity groups. And so that, because we need to feel safe, and we need to feel good about walking.
Thank y'all. Y'all really highlighted on some very key themes, as in it's creating an important, safe environment to just fellowship with individuals from the same community, culture. Also enhancing our health, because, you know, we all understand the importance of walking. And I really agree with Richard as well. It's unfortunate at times that it come to this point where we got to create these spaces for us to just be comfortable to engage in walking, which is, who knows if other communities or cultures think or do this same way compared to like the dominant culture do. So great points and highlights. And now I will pass it to Jess. She can ask the others other questions.
What can Portland do to make Portland safer, specifically for Black folks, but also Indigenous people of color walking and rolling? So we have a lot of emphasis on like streetlights, and which are important, and we need more. And, you know, sidewalks, we need some and more and better. And what else? And what else can we do? Like, if you could sit down with the mayor right now and be like, this is what here's some things you can do to make it safer for me, for my son, for you know, folks in my community. You can do X, Y, and Z. So take it away.
Well, I'll start off. What can Portland do? One of the things is that I wish the city of Portland could up their game on commercials that promote affinity spaces. You know, they got money, they can do this. So I like to see PBOT be more, so that when I'm watching a a movie or some type of show where it's commercial time, when the commercial comes on, I can see a commercial about Affinity Walk or anything like that, to do those things within, and I think they need to use the Office of Civil Life to promote a lot of this. That's what the city of Portland can do, and I think they need to spread that into the neighborhood associations and to promote this. And I think that's what the city of Portland can do.
Good. Thanks, Richard. What do you think, Sam? Sharetta?
You want to go first, Ms. Butcher?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Kind of reiterating what Mr. Hunter spoke on in terms of the marketing and promotion of healthy walking and the perks and the rewards of walking. Being able to see that publicized and promoted on television as well as radio, a real marketing push towards that, especially encouraging the importance of walking and biking in the African American community specifically. Also, putting the same focus that has been put into predominantly white areas of our city in terms of creating a space to safely ride your bikes, a space to safely walk, focusing on creating safe spaces in the streets as well as sidewalks. You look at the areas that there are a high population of African American people. There are not sidewalks in a lot of those areas on busy streets, and that has caused the high number of Black folks getting hit by cars. And you can go down Powell and it's a good 60 block stretch where it's not a sidewalk on either side. It's forcing people to walk in the street, those type of things. So understanding that people do have to commute, and a lot of people do not have the opportunity to commute in vehicles or use public transportation. So a lot of people do walk and ride bikes. And so creating safe areas for people to do that. And then at the same time, putting a huge emphasis on the importance of that and importance of people being able to gather in groups, however they want to gather in those groups and feel safe walking. What Mr. Hunter spoke on about, I grew up in Northeast Portland as well. And if me and 5 or 6 of my friends wanted to walk through neighborhoods that we grew up in, I don't know if that's the safest, situation in terms of, a group of African American men walking through the Alberta neighborhood that we lived in, right? So allowing for displaced people to be able to continue to get the necessary exercise and have the opportunity and understand the importance of walking and biking. I don't think we have a huge push on African American people riding bikes here. We don't have the same access to bicycle centers. I grew up, with a bike center on 24th in Alberta, where we learned to make bikes and got to keep them. I think creating more programs in those lanes would be something that Portland can directly do.
Yeah, I would just piggyback on the fact about safety. It was as I'm older than Sam, so, and probably younger than Richard, but we used to walk from Alberta and interstate all the way down to 6 and Skidmore where my grandma lived, and not have a problem at all. And we traveled together because safety was how we kept, how Black folks protected themselves with, you don't go by yourself nowhere. And I think the response I would want from the city is like, hey, recognizing how it is unsafe for African Americans to be walking around the city now, and that they would help provide that protection of safety. And how would they do that? It's so many levels of it, so I can't really kind of like go do this A, B, and C, but I think the culture of the police is driving down the street, that they wave or they show themselves, you know, approachable, so that we feel comfortable to walk down in the neighborhood. And I don't feel that those things happen. I think it's more so we tense up when we see the police. So it's not a comfortable, fun walk, you know. So I think that's why people transition and go over to the track, which is so uniformed and not family as far as like walking in your neighborhood, you know. And then our kids don't see us walking, so they're not walking. And so we have another generation of young folks, of people coming up that don't walk anywhere, that even probably don't even really like to ride TriMet bus, ride the city bus, you know, or let alone bike. So I think we have done this disservice to our young folks, but it has all generated around, I think, around safety. So I would like to see, that's my little thought. If that makes sense, you know.
Very much so, very much so. Thank you. Richard, what do you got to say?
Ms. Sharetta has reminded me of something that I should have said, and it's something that AARP promotes and Oregon Walks promotes, and that is age-friendly. You know, our walking needs to be intergenerational. We need to see the seniors, children, young adults walking together. And I think that would help create better affinity, to make sure that we have everybody from all generations walking together, not just a bunch of old folk walking together like me, or a bunch of young people walking together, or middle-aged people. But we need to see, you know, grandparents walking with grandchildren and the middle category. So if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Andrew?
Yeah, and I mean, and this, y'all hit, because as I'm listening, I'm reflecting as well, because as we know, we're all from the same area. And it is very important to have that that multi-generational community influence and that community cohesion. And PBOC could really invest more money into the areas that we're at. So yeah, y'all really hit on some highlight things, especially with the neighborhood associations, because they get funds to do certain things. So I'm sure that there could be more funds to partner with Black, Indigenous, and people of color organizations more, since they always want to promote racial equity. So the next question would be, what are some challenges groups or individuals have faced?
I would go without, I was like, the stairs. The stairs. When you're walking, it's like people are looking like, what are they doing? Instead of just like, you know, supporting, like, oh, they're just out, you know. You get the stares and people questioning. I think Mr. Hunter was talking about how people look, and then, you know, he stopped and started having a conversation with them. But it's almost like, it's like Black people don't walk. And I'm just saying Black because that's who I'm representing, but that we don't walk. And if we are out walking in a group, what are we doing? There's something suspicious that's happening going on. So I think folks face that. I think another challenge is mentally for, I say, African Americans. Like, you start off with something with good intentions and you keep it up for a little bit, and then we lag off. We don't finish, we don't complete, or we stop going, or we go twice a week instead of going, 3 times a week, which we said we were going to commit to, and then we dwindle. And it's like, I think you guys were talking about the advertisement and the support. If we can get PBOT to pour into really trying to, create this space for us to walk, like what you guys are trying, what you guys are doing, I think it would help. But those are some of the challenges that I see that happen for us. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Sharetta. The things that have been going on with the political front has sort of created a platform for people to be bold about doing negative things that they normally were kept under wraps. Now people are feeling bold to just be themselves, even when it comes to racism. And when you talk about walking, I like to go walk to the bus stop. I get on the bus and I go to Walmart at Delta Park, and I get out and I walk into Walmart. And just 2 weeks ago, a Caucasian gentleman went by me and he just said, "Get the hell out of my way." And I looked at him and I kept looking at what I was trying to do, and he came by going back to the same way he came, and he pushed my basket into me. And I never experienced that before. All this other stuff started happening. But I think that's what we're going to be experiencing as we go out and walk, because there's a spirit in our country now where people can be bold about their racism, and I don't like you, and I can stand out and be open about it now. And so that's the problem I run into. Never know when somebody's going to act like that. And there was a time that when I walked in my community, I was fortunate enough. I say fortunate. I grew up in an all-Black neighborhood and community. Black stores, Black schools, Black everything Black. The churches, or the teachers, and we had Black judges and Black city, state, county people. So I saw Black all the time. And now since things have been gentrified, when I walk through that same neighborhood, I see people that don't really care that you're there. And
Right.
And there's no interaction. I say hi to people all day long till I'm blue in the face, and they won't say hi back. They may look at you like, "Why are you even speaking to me?" I'm just walking the street, minding my own business. But we got to grow as a people, and our country is facing the challenge that we don't have to like each other, but we got to live with each other. And my experience, my personal experience, is that there was a time that you wouldn't see a white person walking in my neighborhood. Now I'm walking in my neighborhood, and white people are beginning to be threatening. And so that bothers me, and that's my personal experience. And I can get angry easy, but I don't react because I'm older. I got diabetes. Sometimes my balance is not good. So I ain't trying to get beat up by somebody because I lost my temper. Because I can't defend myself too well. But so I got to be careful and I use wisdom.
Yeah.
But that's been my experience of walking. People are now becoming openly threatening to my physical being.
Yeah, my mom is 80 years old, and she started walking, a while back. She started walking a while back. But being walking around in our neighborhood that she's been in since 1972, she's been here. And I feel like some of the folks around now, they have dogs. And so their dogs are freely, they let their dogs off their chain and let them just go down the street. Well, she's not moving quick. So when a dog is approaching her, her fear and guard is like, and so they're like, oh, they're not going to bite. Well, I don't want them jumping on me either. I don't care if they're not going to bite. They don't need to be jumping on her. So I feel like there's this, like, they devalue, who she is as a African-American older, you think you have respect for the elders. We do have respect for the elders. I should say that. We do have respect for them. But there are some folks who don't have the respect. And so they let their dogs loose. So it's made my mom fearful about going out walking because she doesn't want to encounter, any dogs, or somebody might, she might get bit or whatever. So those are that's another challenge is the animal pets, or dogs, I should say, and how people are allowing their dogs to just roamly dominate the sidewalks.
I'll chime in real quick. I just think that the safety, accessibility, and comfortability of walking isn't the same. You've heard Ms. Butcher as well as Mr. Hunter speak on those things about, how it's not with the fragmented climate that we have in our city and our country, the safety piece. Again, knowing that there's not the same access to the same proper and safe walkways. And then just being comfortable getting out and walking. So I also believe that a huge challenge is there's not a lot of positive promotion of walking. We don't see that. It's not encouraged. And so when it's not safe all the time, when walk spaces are not always accessible, and people aren't comfortable walking, speaking on the again, dogs and people looking at you crazy and having to worry about if you walking at 8 o'clock at night, is somebody going to call the police on you because you're walking, you know what I'm saying? There's all kinds of seriousness that comes along with that. And I think that those things are still and will remain challenges until we kind of put some emphasis and focus on changing those and kind of changing the narrative of what walking looks like in the Black community.
All right. So the last question of this great conversation is, how can folks or local government support your work?
So I think Sam kind of hit on it at the very beginning when he was talking about like a campaign, or maybe Mr. Hunter, but a campaign advertisement and putting money into, specifically for walking. I know at the health clinic, we used to have a walking group where we actually shut down the clinic and we invited all of our patients to come and join us. And we would shut down for an hour and we would walk around. But at that time we were on MLK, right by Popeyes. We were right across the street from Popeyes. And we would shut it down and we would walk through down by Irving Park and around. And anyway, it was good. We did it once a week. And it was real, I felt like staff really loved it and the patients loved it. And, but us being closed cost money because we weren't there providing services, right? Although we were providing it in a different way. It would be great if the local government or whomever could fund that time, as this is an actual paid time that people can go and work out or work or whatever. So I would love to see something like that.
Thank you, and that's a really good point. What Sam, how about you can go next?
I think we've, tapped into it a little bit, but definitely putting a lot of more funding into walking related events. I know that we've been planning some stuff, but with COVID has interrupted a lot of the things that we had coming up. But I just seen before the joy that comes from organizing events. And I think that the city and people in our community should put an emphasis into funding that. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to go to Spain. And while I was there in Victoria, a city in Spain, they have it, I believe it's called siesta. But it's a time throughout the day where the city shuts down for people to exercise. It's a 2-3 hour window where everything is closed, and it's intergenerational. People getting out, and I know here in America that's not really a doable thing. But if we could even focus on once a month, putting together a 3-hour window where we're in different areas and promoting and creating events focused on walking and the importance and the perks and the good things that come from walking. Not only will it help with people's mental and physical health and outlook, it also will create those intergenerational relationships by having the opportunity to fellowship with each other. So if our city and local government could put an emphasis on funding safe and fun and creative ways for us to get together and walk and bike with one another, I think that would be dope.
That's good. That's real good. Oh, and also help with the bureaucracy of, like, if we do something real formal, how you gotta go through for city permits and all of this stuff. Streamline that stuff and make it super simple for the average folks like me to be like, oh yeah, let's do a walk, and then have a step-by-step, way of making it happen, instead of putting up the roadblocks to make it seem like, you don't want it to happen. So permits and stuff like that would be great.
Yeah, those are really huge points, especially the one with the lowering barriers for nonprofits and community leaders that's not in their system, that they don't have to do all these protocols to just hope something. But last but not least, we'll go to Mr. Hunter.
Thank you. I appreciate everything that Sharetta and Samuel has shared. Those are really great points. What can folks do, and what can the government do to help our work, support it? Everybody have their own belief system, and I believe in the Bible, and the Bible says that money suffices all things. So I think that I'd like to see the government put aside funds to provide to various organizations and groups that try to promote walking and whatnot. They and give them the funds to purchase T-shirts and hoodies that have these positive messages that inspire people to do what we're trying to do. And the way that folks can help is to wear these T-shirts and hoodies. I support healthy walking and all this kind of stuff. Whatever a good jingle or lingo that can be come up with that can spread a positive message to everybody. They can see it. It can be on the front and the back. They can see you coming. They can see you going. They can see the message, and it inspires them, or at least educate them or make them aware. So the government should provide money, you know, so that these organizations and entities can purchase these T-shirts and hoodies that can be given out free to people. So that's my take on that.
Thank you so much for sharing and for inspiring and showing a path forward for Oregon Walks and for the city. And so thank you to all of you.
Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks,
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank
Hope
you.
everybody has an amazing Saturday.